Hello, everyone.
Hey, welcome to the Nestled Podcast. We hope you liked our new intro.
Yeah, I'm Bailey,
I'm April.
and we got us a whole new fresh start. We're like, maybe this time we really nailed what our message is.
Yes, the last several months, every time we listen to the podcast and I hear the intro and I think, that's not who we are. That's not our message anymore.
Yep. So thank y'all for being on this journey with us.
It has been. It's been a process.
Yeah, but we feel really good about where we are and the message that we have.
Yes.
And
we're okay with saying, think that we're changing directions.
Yeah.
So
I think it's important to get there in all areas of life where you're like, you know what, this isn't working. Parenthood has done that for me.
Yeah. Me too. I'm a failure, guys. So we're gonna try something different.
We're gonna change things up a little bit. Yep.
So we decided to take a little break from our regularly scheduled programming to bring you a message that we felt really passionate about. We've kind of touched on it with some different guests, but we haven't really been able to share our heart about this. And it's something that we feel like needs to be said out loud. And it's something that we want to say to you guys because we love you. And we speak this to one another often, but we haven't had a chance to tell you.
Yeah, we're talking about comparison today.
Yep, and it's just the two of us.
It's just me and April, and we're gonna lay our hearts out there for you guys.
Yes.
And I'll say up front, we are not sitting here and pretending that we've never struggled with comparison.
Or that we don't struggle with it.
Or that we don't. But there is so much freedom to be found.
Yes.
In doing the work to try and let go of it.
Right. Yeah, and I think that we have talked about contentment. We've talked about, when we started the podcast, we talked a lot about loving your home, loving
the things
what
that
you have without
yeah.
feeling like you had to do more and that kind of thing. And we do feel the same way about that to this day.
Absolutely.
We just haven't talked about it in the same way because we've kind of taken a little different turn than just talking about our homes. And comparison, it really encompasses every aspect of our lives. And I do think that what we have in our home is kind of a big trigger point for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. Another one is children.
Your children.
Oh, there's so much freedom to be found as parents and stopping comparing your children to all the other kids.
I don't know if you guys remember a little while back, I shared about being at an awards ceremony, and I realized all of a sudden it was the first one I had sat through that I honestly didn't care.
Yeah.
That I wasn't feeling like my child had to get, because this particular child usually wins all the awards. And I remember thinking I don't care if she gets any awards.
I'm proud of her.
I'm proud of her for who she is.
Yeah.
And honestly, I was able to celebrate with other people and their kids. And I was so excited for kids who I've been there for all of them. And so I'm like, oh, you've never gotten an award before. I'm so happy for you. And then I realized, man, this has been an idol in my heart for a long time. I didn't even know was there.
Yeah. I finally have, my girls compare themselves to one another a lot, which has given me a different view on comparison because I'm watching them and going, stop it. You are so wonderful, and we are so proud as long as you do your best. And I finally have my kid who struggles in school more, coming home and celebrating an 80 instead of saying, but my sister always gets a 100 and I never get a 100. And once I didn't get a 100 because that 80, we studied for it, we worked for it, you did the hard part, and we're proud of you because it was the best you could do.
Yeah. And one of the hardest things, some people have heard this, that we pulled our oldest out of school and are homeschooling him again. And I didn't even realize that I had put so much weight on the high school experience being about winning awards and being seen, because for me, that's kind of what high school was. And I struggled. We felt like this was the right decision for our kid, but I was like, but then people, I never would have said this, but in my heart, then people aren't going to know how great he is.
Right.
Because he's not going to be standing side by side with other kids and people saying, oh, your son is this. What is wrong with me?
I think it's human. I think it's been a problem since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
And so.
And I know it's rooted in pride. But I'm so
Right.
thankful that God was so gracious to show that to me because I didn't even know that was there.
Right. Right. It's the same if you watch Little League sports, man.
Man.
We are the rare children's sport parents who literally don't care. I'm like, just go have fun and do your best.
Have fun.
We're
Learn
here
a
for
little
you
bit
to
about
get
the game.
Yeah, we're here for you to get exercise. We're not here for you to win crazy awards.
Not planning on you going to the Olympics.
Right. And let me tell you, whenever my kid does win a heat, we get to celebrate that so hard.
Right.
Because we didn't expect it.
Right.
You know, there's never been a race where my kids get out of the pool where it's like, you could have done better. I'm disappointed in you.
Why didn't you were really bad in that turn?
Yeah, you should have done. I don't know. I just feel like it's a terrible trap that we as parents need to be aware of, that like we are putting that stuff on our kids.
Yes. And it comes, and the reason that we hung out here on kids for a minute is because we are putting that on them, but guys, it comes from us.
It comes from us, absolutely. And one of the main points we wanted to drive home one of the main points we wanted to drive home in this is comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah.
And it's true in our own lives, and it's true in our kids' lives.
Yeah.
And we
It's
have
true
to
in
be
our
aware of it.
relationships.
Absolutely.
Oh, it's such a mess.
So, now we have you all encouraged.
Yeah, now that you're feeling really good about yourself.
We're going to bring you down more.
Yeah, we're going to take you down a little further.
One of the things that made this come before our minds over and over again until we finally said we just want to talk about this is we see all the time on Instagram people talking about comparing themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And especially with big influencers saying like, if you're struggling with comparison on Instagram, just delete the app.
Right, take
Just
a break.
Yeah, take a break from social media
Or sharing
altogether.
their story about them struggling and said they are taking a break. I'm going to go on a sabbatical from Instagram.
And that is not terrible if that's what you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're not doing the self-work while you're away, then when you come back, the issue is still going to be there.
Right, because the root of comparison and our lack of contentment isn't Instagram.
Right.
Because if there's not Instagram, you still see people. I mean, like,
Right.
there's always going to be a prettier girl.
Always.
There's always going to be a nicer house.
Right.
There's always going to be someone more talented.
There's going to be somebody with a smarter kid. There's going to be somebody with a faster kid.
Right.
You know?
Always.
Always.
And so if we're not evaluating what's going on in our hearts that's making us feel this desire to like put ourselves up next to someone else to see how we measure up, and if we don't measure up, then we start to like be down on ourselves, and or we start to put other people down to try to make us feel better.
Right. And the solution is not to delete everyone from your life, essentially.
Right.
Say, okay, so now I'm just not going to look at anyone.
Yeah, I'm
not
going to unfollow everyone who's prettier than me.
Yeah. Well, or I'm not going to be friends with anyone who is prettier than me in
Right.
real life. You know, it extends outside
Yes.
of an app. And so be aware of that.
Yes.
In order to love people well, you have to truly love them and cheer them on and want the best for them. And you have to delete the jealousy.
And celebrate the places that they're great.
Yes.
We've got to be good celebrators of one another. Like, I want nothing more than the people that are my people to like really rejoice with me in the good times and not be jealous. Like, I want to rejoice with you. Like,
Right.
let's be that for one another.
Right. And I never want to find that someone who is important to me goes through something where they really like reach a goal or a certain achievement and they felt like they couldn't say it to me
Yes.
because it was too braggy or that I would be
It
jealous
would
and it would hurt
my
my feelings.
That is
Yeah.
crazy.
But that is
It's true.
it is true in so many relationships. I want the people around, like you were saying, April, people around me and my family to just feel fully celebrated in all the things that they do that are good.
And one thing that we laughed when we started talking about this point is because we took new photos a little while back, and I told Bailey, and our friend Jen was taking pictures for us, and I got there and I said, y'all, I looked up some tips on how to look skinny in photos because, you know, I mean, I wanted to look skinny. I've had 5 kids. And one of the tips was don't stand next to someone skinny. So, like, I can't be friends with Bailey.
Oh, well, and the problem there is like That's real advice.
That was real on the internet.
I mean, it was a blog with
A
like
whole-
other tips.
yes, it was
and that
like
was
one
an
of
actual
10.
tip. It wasn't a tongue-in-cheek tip.
It was in the top 10.
It was literally, don't stand next to someone who's thin.
Right. I mean, come on.
Come on. And that's the world we live in, and that's the world that our daughters are growing up in.
Yes.
And our sons, but
Yeah. It really is this. I mean, it really, if we could just drive home that point that it is stealing all good things.
yeah.
I mean, it really is. It's stealing your contentment, it's stealing your joy, but it's also amplifying self and pride and fear, and all of the bad stuff is coming out in us.
Constantly comparing ourselves to others is one of the most selfish things that we can do.
Yes.
It truly is. And it's just going to bleed so much of the joy out of your life.
Absolutely. And I think that drives into, we literally have 3 things written on a sticky note here. And they're not even whole sentences. But the other thing we really wanted to encourage you with, because this is all kind of bad news,
Right.
of like, well, we kind of suck. And we
And
do
what
not
do
get
about
this
it.
right.
Yeah.
We look side to side all the time. But the good news is that the world isn't our standard.
Praise God.
Oh my goodness.
Because there's always going to be somebody with more.
Always. And we can't live out our giftings. We can't walk fully and confidently in the path that God has for us when we're looking side to side at other people and thinking, oh, well, they're adopting, I should adopt. When, like, that's not your lane right now.
Right.
So, like, you're not walking in your lane because you're trying to do what other people are doing.
Or feel less
less
than.
than.
Or I remember in college having a moment with someone who was mentoring me that I was so thankful for, because the church I went to was very missions based. It was a wonderful church. They were constantly sending people out. And our college group was huge. And out of that huge group, I mean, the number of people who were going to be leaving the country to be missionaries was really incredible.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel called to that. And that was a struggle. Like, I guess I'm not Christian enough to desire to be in another country right now. And somebody sat down and said, if God sends all the Christians to another country, who's going to minister at home? Like, maybe your place is here. I don't want you to feel like you're not going to do any work for the kingdom because you're not being called to a village in Africa
Right.
at the moment.
Right.
Which is, it's just another picture of the comparison stuff and the way it weighs you down.
Yeah, I mean,
and major decisions.
It literally seeps into every aspect of your life because it's in the church, it's in our neighborhoods, it's in our relationships, and I don't want my kids growing up thinking that that's normal. I don't want, whenever I hear those things, I want to start to point them out so that I can say, hey, we're not comparing you to one another. We're not comparing you to friends at school, but also like encouraging them in the things that they are gifted in.
Well, and celebrate the way God created them.
Yes.
And remind them that God is so creative.
Mm-hmm.
All creative things in this world come from how creative He is.
Yes.
And the fact that He takes time to give everyone different talents.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone different personalities, everyone all these different traits is really incredible, and we should celebrate that rather than trying to dumb it down
Yes.
to everybody being the same. We're not all the same.
Right.
And ultimately, we want our kids and we want the people in our lives, and we want all of you who we consider to be our friends to remember that our worth is not found in this world.
Right. Our worth is found in Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And none of us, the most beautiful, the most rich, the most talented, whatever, you name it, of what you look at and you idolize or whatever, no one is good outside of Christ. And when the Father looks at us on our very best day, He doesn't love us any more than on our very worst day. Because His love for us is constant and it's steady. And when He looks at us, He sees Christ. He sees the righteousness of Christ. He sees His worth and not ours. And so we don't have to try to measure up.
Thank goodness.
Yes,
Because we're not going to.
Jesus put that to death on the cross a long time ago. We don't have to measure up.
Right. So let's find our joy in that.
Yes.
Instead of 100 likes, 200 likes, 3,000 likes on a picture.
Yes.
Instead of our salary. Instead of the size of our house.
Yes.
Let's find our joy there in Him and in Him alone.
He is where we find our worth. He is where we find our hope. He is where we find our joy. And if we keep our eyes fixed on Him, everything else just kind of fades away. And then we can be good friends.
That's right. And that's where you get to come into the place of like what our friend Wynn said recently that we both liked. She was saying, stop looking at the table that you think that you really want to find a seat at.
Yes. If
those people don't want you there, say, you know what? I'm going to build my own table. I'm going to build it a little longer, and I'm going to invite everybody in.
Yes.
Build your own table.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Lydia taught me this lesson, and Lydia listens. So this is my daughter. This one's for you. When she was in 5th grade, and there were some girls at school, and honestly, it was out of jealousy. And they said, because you're friends with her, you can't be in our club. And Lydia said, that's fine. I started my own club. And the little girl said, well, who's in your club? And she said, everybody.
Anybody who wants to
Anybody who wants to be. And so, you know what? Let's all... I mean, Lydia teaches me a lot of things, but like I've never forgotten that. I was so proud of her because I thought, you're right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm going to make my own club and everybody's invited.
That's right. So y'all come to our little tiny houses. Yeah, I'm just kidding.
You're all invited.
Oh, we hope all of that yelling we just did resonates with someone and that you take something from it and that it encourages you today.
Yes.
To start to really do the work, to be happy with where you are and who you're with and what you've got.
Yeah, and let's stop making lists of all the things that we want and start making lists of what we're thankful for.
There's a Mumford & Sons lyric that I used to have on like my Facebook profile or something. But it said, where you invest your love, you invest your life. And I think that really sums it up. And if we're just focusing on trying to love ourselves so much, we're gonna that's where it's all gonna go.
Mess up all the relationships. Yeah.
And all of our days are just gonna go to focusing on ourselves.
Yeah.
And life is so much more full.
Yes, loving
when
God,
we love others.
loving people.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
So we hope y'all have a great rest of your week.
Yes. Thanks for taking a peek in our nest.
We hope you come back next week. As always, our door will be open.